back. I know you thought you'd never hear our voices again, but it's me, I'm Jacob. Over there's Kyle. We are Rapscast, and we are back after our all-star hiatus. I had to take some time off due to some personal health issues. I had a terrible case of strep throat, and I wasn't able to get in the studio and give the people what they want. But here we are. We're back. It's a beautiful Tuesday evening. Kyle, say hello to the people out there.
Hello, good people. Not only are we back, I think we're better than ever, right, Jacoby?
I think so, man. We got plans to give to him tonight, man. We got to show him how we do it.
Yeah, I think we have a good episode. We're ready. We're excited. It's going to be a good show.
And we apologize for the long weeks you've waited since the last episode dropped. But we're back, and we're going to give you what you need, people. It's Rapscast time, so buckle your seatbelts.
Let's get into it.
All right. Around the league we go.
Around the league. So, the first thing that's not so old news is a few great players are done for a while. Chris Bosh, he had a pulmonary embolism. That means a clot in his lungs. He's going to be gone for a while. Not just the end of this season. It could be a really long time. It's a really serious injury.
Mm-hmm.
That's a life-threatening thing. Anderson Varejao actually had the same problem last year, and he's had a lot of health problems. But these are things that could kill you. And wow, it's scary. I hope he recovers well.
Yeah, there's a couple of those even popping up in hockey these days. It seems like maybe doctors are looking for them a little harder than before, or something like that, or something in the water. 2015, but yeah, no, we've seen a lot of that. The blood clots, the embolisms.
How do you think that's going to affect Miami in their playoff hunt?
Well, I mean, of any player it could have happened to on that roster, it really affected the guy they needed the most, more than D-Wade these days anyway. It's going to affect them horribly in their playoff hunt. I think they could still hang on to one of the last spots. It's kind of it's a battle for anybody. You know, anyone could grab it, but they won't make any noise in the playoffs. If the Raptors get them in the first round, we will have gotten lucky.
I don't know about that. I think they're still in the playoff hunt. They did get Goran Dragic in the trade deadline, and he's a great player. Good thing they got some talent when they lost Bosh. Next year it will be a great combination to have the three of them.
Mm-hmm.
Since they got Goran, though, they're 2-3, so time will tell. In terms of the playoffs, I think there's still a bit of a scary AC just because we can't take away from what Eric Spoelstra has done. I mean, the guy knows how to coach. He knows how to win. A lot of players on that team, well, D-Wade mostly, know how to win come playoff time. So they're a team with a lot of experience, and maybe they're on paper how good they are isn't as good as it should be.
They're better off paper.
Yeah, come playoff time.
I see. I agree with you.
Experience counts.
Experience does count, but I don't think the Raptors are scared of the Heat at all, especially without Chris Bosh. Like, you know, in the front court, it looks really, really shallow for Miami right now. Even with the emergence of this guy, Hassan Whiteside.
Oh,
holy cow! Can this guy move? Really athletic.
Oh, I'm angry about this one because Hassan Whiteside actually played for our summer league team. And he was playing well in Summer League. I think I remember telling a few people, this guy, I don't know why he's been bouncing around the league. It looks like he's playing really well. He grabbed a lot of boards, got a few blocks. I mean, he wasn't anything spectacular offensively, but I don't know if you remember, our Summer League team was terrible. He was the only actual NBA-ish player. Ish player to be on that team.
Whiteside, Brightside.
Yeah, I thought he could have been our 15th man, especially since we used our 15th slot for Greg Steamsma.
Yeah, we could, in the place of Bebe or Greg or even Chuck Hayes, a young big man like him, I think would be awesome for the Raptors.
But we could have had him.
Well,
what's up, Masai?
Yeah.
Jeez, we took.
He's human after all.
He is human after all. But the Messiah we trust.
Yes, we do.
So the next big injury was Derrick Rose goes down again. Could you believe it?
You know, it's a really sad story for Derrick Rose. I can't imagine what it's like to be at the top of your game and one of the best in the world at your craft, and then your knee goes out, you know? Like, it's just horrible to see what's happening to his career. It's kind of the same thing that's happening to Kobe. Like, at the end of it, it's kind of winding down. Of course, he didn't get to live it out the way Kobe did, but, man, I just feel horrible for Derrick Rose, frankly. I really hope that it works out. We saw this happen with Brandon Roy, the whole absent meniscus reproach, and it didn't really work out well for him. I mean, of course, he's not playing any basketball at all right now, but it's really sad. Best of luck to Derrick Rose. I want to see him get back, and I want to see him dominate. I loved watching him play when he was in his prime, but you know, with every passing day, it seems like his prime is just never going to come back.
It's really sad to see this. I mean, this is a guy who's been at the top of the league. He's been to the top of the mountain, and now he just knows that in the back of his mind, he's never going to get back there again. I mean, it's the third time, right? He had a different knee problem once, but third season in a row, he's out for a bit of time because of a knee injury. I mean, it's got to be so such a big stress on your mind. He must lose so much sleep at night about it.
I'm sure he's developed a type of, like, some kind of... He sees many shrinks now, I think.
I bet.
Like, how could you not?
So, as you mentioned, the fans might not know this, but Derrick Rose decided instead of repairing his meniscus to have it removed. And you alluded to Brandon Roy, and that's because Brandon Roy, after all his knee problems, decided to have his meniscus removed too. For those of you who don't know, the meniscus is like a cushion in your knee. So that what that's going to do is the knee is a part of your body that endures a lot of stress, and it's kind of
Dr. Kyle, Dr. Miller.
So that's going to be a part of your knee that just like a shock absorber, right? So they're taking that out, and in the long run, he's probably going to have some knee problems.
Because it's like bone on bone now.
Bone on bone. That's a lot of grinding if you think about it.
Especially in a sport like basketball.
Yeah, but the reason he takes it out is because the time to heal is a lot quicker, and even if he repaired it, which he opted to do last time, the chances of re-tearing it go up.
So it's just basically a short-range fix, a short-term
fix over a long-term problem.
Right.
And what I'm worried about, and what it's looking more and more likely, as if he's never going to be the same player again.
No, yeah.
You know, he's going to be a free agent soon. I think either this year or next year, maybe the year after. I don't know if Chicago's going to go for him. He might. It's too soon to tell, but I really hope his career doesn't go the way Brandon Roy's did, because Brandon Roy had such promising potential. He won Rookie of the Year. He looked like a great NBA player. He was a great NBA player.
Derrick Rose won the MVP of the NBA. He was the best player in the league.
And he's 25.
Yeah. And he won it when he was like 22 or something, right? Like,
this is a guy with enormous potential, and he's reached that potential, but I'm worried he's never going to get back to there. And when I say not back to there, I mean he's never going to be an all-star again.
No, I agree. I think he can be like a role player at best now. If you just watch him play, he takes too many, if he didn't
spend too much time away from the basketball court.
True, but if he didn't build up the sentimental value with Chicago, like no other team's going to give him the chance that he's getting in Chicago anyway. He's frankly not playing as well as he should, and he's getting too many shots for somebody who, with his actual ability at this moment. Like it's like he's playing reputational ball. You know what I mean? Like that's where his minutes are coming from. That's where the trust and faith is coming from. He's lucky he's on a good team. Otherwise, this would be really exposed. But
so how's this going to affect the Bulls come playoff season? Right now, they're in the second seed right now. Toronto's third.
Yeah, the scariest thing is, like, they don't even need him to do that well.
They've been doing that for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Thibodeau knows what he's doing.
Exactly. They just have an amazing team. They're deep. They got good big men. They move the ball. They're a tough...
Pau Gasol he's been having fountain of youth here.
Yeah, well, that happens to big men, doesn't it? They stop using their athleticism so much, and they really get the skills, and this game slows down, and they really get how to score the ball. I've always loved Pau Gasol, but... man, they are scary. It's nuts to think that they don't need D Rose, but it's also just so sad to see what's going down with him. The best in the world now can just barely bang with them. I think he might even be out of the league before he, it's.
I hope not.
Before he's actually that old.
I think it's too early to tell, or maybe not. But I don't want to even think
what
about it.
What else does he do? What else does he? He's not a shooter. He's not.
But what if he comes off the bench and does a Lou Williams role?
That's not really what he does, though.
He can.
People
adapt.
Yeah,
People
he can.
adapt, and if he doesn't have the health, that might be what it ends up being.
But for him to have a Lou Williams role, he's got to have his knee because his his explosion and just his agility with the ball.
All I hope is that if he can play basketball, he will play basketball well.
Yeah.
Not to the point where we've seen, but he will play basketball better than the average player. But that's a given.
I don't know
about
that anymore.
The problem is, will he play basketball? That is the problem.
I don't know about that, man. I think even if he gets back, that with the knee the way it is right now, he lost some speed.
Yes.
He lost some explosiveness. He's never going to get back.
But he got a better shot.
Yeah, but he still doesn't have an elite shot.
Smart players know how to get better. Kobe Bryant lost athleticism. What did he do? He learned the Texas two-step in the offseason.
True. And
now he just uses his footwork to get by anybody.
But coming into the league, Kobe Bryant was way more skilled than Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is more of a freak, but
it's just I think the only question we have is he going to be healthy enough to be a basketball player?
Only time will tell.
Yeah. Let's jump into the next thing. So James Harden, James on James action these days.
Yeah. Well, you just watched the video. You just watched it when you got here. Well, tell me what you think. Does he deserve? He got a 1-game suspension because of this. Is that merited?
So, for those who don't know, James Harden was just suspended for a game. He had a flagrant foul, and he kicked LeBron James in the nuts, flat out.
Yeah.
Nutcracker style.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's great television.
Yeah,
That's some good television.
Do you think he would have got 1 game if he kicked Timofey Mozgov in the nuts?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think?
I mean, the thing is, LeBron really sells those things well. You know, you
yeah,
saw
he
LeBron
does.
in the video. LeBron knows how to sell a foul.
Mm-hmm.
Timofey Mozgov, I don't know. But if the refs called a foul, that means they're allowed to look at the foul on the camera, and
they determined it was a flagrant 2 or whatever.
So if they called the foul, which I think they would have 9 or 10 out of 10 times, yes, he deserved it. I mean, we just saw him look at LeBron, give him the stink eye.
Oh, it's LeBron.
Yeah, give him the stink eye and then kick him in the nuts. That's a ballsy move.
Yeah.
Kick the king in the nuts.
That bears another question. Is James Harden the next going to become the best player in the NBA?
The best player or the MVP? There's a difference.
I guess just tell me what that means, Kyle.
Well, the best player in the NBA is you don't have to look at their team, right? You could just look at the skills they possess, what they do, and determine them the best. So the best in the league to me, the best in the world to me, is a toss-up between LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Although Kevin Durant's been injured this year, so LeBron James, best basketball player on the planet. The MVP, to me, is the best player on a great team, if not the best team. And he has to have not just the best player on that team, but he has to have a huge role. You know, he has to
be the reason for the team's success.
Yeah, he has to be a huge reason. And so if you're asking me who's in that race, it comes down to a race of Steph Curry or James Harden. I'll go with James Harden.
Yeah, me too.
Just because James Harden's been doing it with a much worse supporting cast.
Yes, I agree. And it's on his shoulders. The offense is just.
Yeah, I mean, everybody criticizes his defense, but you know what?
They've got it
down.
Good defense, man.
He's improved this year. He's got it done. Steph Curry, he can take off a night. He's got Klay Thompson, Bogut. He has so many people on his team he could defer to.
Draymond Green.
There you go. So I'm going to go with James Harden.
For MVP.
Yeah, and I mean, the Nutcracker was, it was symbolic. Taking best player on the planet.
No, that's why I ask. Was it symbolic? Did he kick him in the nuts? My turn now, sucker.
Take the throne?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I like that. That's a good story.
Let's roll with it then.
Yeah. So let's just jump into quick predicts.
Cool.
So all we're going to do is give some quick predictions about some upcoming games for the week. About 15 seconds-ish on if we win, if we lose, and why or why not. Sound good?
Yeah, sure. Who's going to start?
You'll start. So the first game is at Charlotte against the Hornets.
This is kind of contingent on what happens in Cleveland. This being tomorrow. That game will have happened already by the time you hear this. But if the Raptors can, I think it'll be a close game in Toronto against Cleveland. If the Raptors can pull off a win, then we can turn this road trip into a winning streak. If we can't, then I'm not sure we could take the win against the Hornets. I know they're not the best team in the world, but the Raptors are just not playing good basketball right now. If you're asking me to make a prediction, next one will be quicker than this, as it is a quick predict, but I think they're taking an L. Kyle?
I think they're going to take the Hornets. The only problem with the Hornets is we have sometimes trouble against people like Al Jefferson and Kemba Walker, who's a fast guard. I think we could do it. JV's been playing hell of a good basketball game these days. I think we could take Charlotte. They're not a great team. They're not a playoff team. And it's a good time to get the mojo flowing for the team as they're about to go on a good road trip against some good teams. I hope we get the win. We could get the win. We should get the win. Hopefully it's not another stinker.
I think if we beat Cleveland, we'll ride the momentum over there.
But I don't think we're going to beat Cleveland.
And that's why I don't think we're going to beat the Hornets.
Okay. Next one is at Oklahoma City against the Thunder. What do you think?
I hate to be such a downer. I wish I was a little more of a homer this week. But
I know what you're saying.
I don't see the Raptors taking this. I just can't. It's hard for me to visualize the Raptors beating the Thunder. They need the wins right now.
They need the wins.
And they're playing against superstars.
Well, remember that Russell Westbrook is injured.
Oh,
he's gone. So he broke his face.
He broke his face.
Broke his face.
How? Well, isn't he going to get like he's going to come in with a
He broke
Rip
a bone.
Hamilton
So
mask?
no, not for a bit.
Okay.
So no Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, if their team was doing better, he'd also be in the
MVP
race.
discussion. Yeah.
Does that change anything for you?
Yeah, it does actually.
So I'll just talk about mine. You could jump in after.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I'd like to say, if we put this in a vacuum, I think we'd win. The only thing that's stopping is we're on this funk. We're not playing our game. And Scotty Brooks knows how to coach. So they get a lot out of a little. Remember our first game we played against them? They played a hell of a game with only about 7 players. And both Kevin Durant and Westbrook were not in that game. Do I think they win? Westbrook's out. Is Durant out?
No, he's not out.
Durant's in the game. I'm still going to say we could win. We could win. We have James Johnson. If James Johnson comes to the game, he's a great matchup with Kevin Durant. We could win. We should win. It's just this goddamn funk.
I know. I
we're in.
I have the schedule up here, and this 103-98 loss to the Knicks is staring me right in the face every time I try to make these calls. You know what I'm saying?
We weren't with Lowry.
That's true. That's very true, actually.
But
I don't.
I'm going to say a win.
All right.
I want the win. I see the win. I smell the win. Okay? We're going to get a win. That's it. Okay?
You heard it here first. Kyle wants the win. We're getting the win.
What about the Spurs?
Watch out, Thunder. Okay, Spurs. This is Tuesday, March 10th.
I called a loss against our last game against the Spurs, and
we beat
won.
them. Yeah,
we won, and that was the best game.
We took
of the
Pop's
season.
milestone away.
Yeah, that was the best game of our season.
Yeah. By the way, I think the game just recently against the Warriors is the worst game the Raptors played this season.
Both times.
Yeah,
both times.
Okay.
We lost them both by like 30 points. We cannot play the Spurs. Not the Spurs, the Warriors.
The Warriors.
So what do you think about the Spurs?
I like our chances against the Spurs. The Spurs have a tough time matching up with the Raptors. They can't really guard our guards. They throw Kawhi Leonard on one guy, and then the other guy kind of roams free. And our backup guard, like when Lou Williams and Vasquez come off the bench, they have trouble with that. Do I think we're going to win the game, though?
Sounds like you think we do.
It's so hard to bet against the San Antonio Spurs, but you know what? I do think it is a good chance. If there was a gun to my head, I'd say we were going to take this win in San Antonio. Yeah, I do think so. I think we're going to lose both those games on the road, and we're going to need a win, and we're going to take one against the Spurs.
So I think we differ in opinion this entire one. I'm a little on the fence because I think we win those first 2, and then you ride the momentum, and it would make sense to say we win. But realistically, I'm probably making a mistake in my predictions. I'm going to say we lose against the Spurs. They're just a consistently good team. They don't ever give you a 30-point loss. I mean, we're up and down how we play.
Right.
I see them as, they're not at the top of the league this year, but they're consistently good. They are consistently well coached, and so are we. But I'll say they get the win. So that's the end of Quick Predicts. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah, we'll see you on the other side. We'll be back. Don't touch that dial.
Welcome back to Rapscast. We're about to go into my favorite part of the show, the starting 5, Jacoby.
Yes,
you ready?
Starting 5. We got 5 big ones here.
Yeah, we've been gone for a while. We've been writing the show. We're excited.
Tackling the big topics.
So let's just get right into it.
Sure.
So trade deadline passed. We're a little overdue, but let's just talk about the Raptors. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. No, I think it's a big vote of confidence to the team from Masai. I think he's saying, I like what I got here. You guys work well together. Now get it together and show me something. I think he probably was open to certain calls, but Thad Young was taken early. A lot of the guys he was interested were gone and off the board, and I think he wanted to keep together a good thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Although, after this streak, he might be reconsidering. What do you think, Kyle?
I'm not entirely sure. I do agree with what that means. I think one of our biggest assets is our chemistry, but we do have to be realistic. We're a good team, but we're not a great team. And we're just a good team in a gap year where a lot of the teams are changing around. Mm-hmm. I sort of, I have my little blind faith in the Messiah himself. So, is it a good decision? he knows better than me.
I mean, he could still. I mean, when the draft comes around, he can make moves and.
Yeah.
You know
but in
I mean?
terms of this year, this is a year we want to make a push.
Yeah.
So did he do the right thing by doing nothing? And I don't know. I'm gonna have to say I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people moved. 37 players were moved. This was the busiest deadline ever. He could have got something. Okay. In fact, we talked about Aaron Aflalo. I think Aflalo would have been an amazing fit just for this year. Even if he walks away, he was dealt to Portland for a first-round pick and a few other things, including actually a prospect in Luke Babbitt, who just tore us up. But there were a lot of players that moved that could have helped us, and evidently we need that help. Look, we just lost a lot of games. We lost some games against teams that we are better than. The New York Knicks.
Perhaps he just doesn't think that going all the way this year was realistic, even if he could add a big name.
I think that's the conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
I think that's evidently what happens.
I think that's kind of
I think we're a second
actually.
Round playoff team.
Yeah.
Maybe we get to the conference finals, but it's a matchup thing. But I don't know. I think we should have shopped around. I would have loved to see. The thing is, I'm starting to think about James Johnson in the starting lineup. We've been calling for it all year. We put him in, and he's playing fantastic.
He's playing the best of his career.
Yes, but the team isn't. Mm-hmm. Both Lowry and DeRozan are having shooting troubles, and with James Johnson in the lineup, it only makes it harder. The spacing is a little off. It makes their shots, the
awkwarder.
More awkward. So I think we could have really used a small forward, push James back to the bench. Mm-hmm. Don't put Terrence Ross. What if we got Wilson Chandler? He could have been had. Mm-hmm. Wilson Chandler would have been a great, he's a very versatile guy. He plays the 3, the 4. He could defend. He's not
very well.
Yeah, very well. He could hit threes. He's just a versatile guy, and versatile people fit great in the NBA. Ask the Warriors. They're just a team of every single player could pretty much play 2 positions, except for Bogut. And that works well in the NBA. You need to have, when you're playing defense, you need people that could switch off screens. That's where they get their bread and butter. We could have found that guy.
Yeah, being able to play multiple positions is only important really on defense. On offense, you need a scoring tool. You need to be big enough to...
mismatches are great. But yes, on the defense, I needed more switching. I think
mismatches are great, but that's why you want to avoid having to deal with them on defense. You want to have a guy who's big enough to switch onto a 3, but still got a point guard.
I'm sad we didn't go after someone like Wilson Chandler, someone we could have plugged into the starting lineup. Spacing would have been fine. Probably would have just, add to our depth. Move James back to the bench. And James is a great player. He's a starting player. But for the sake of for the team wins, maybe he's better off on the bench. Mm-hmm. I'm a little disappointed.
I think they should move him to the 4, frankly. I think he should be a power forward in the NBA.
Yeah. I think he should play both. Whatever the game calls. Whatever Dwayne Casey wants to do. So that's what I think. What about you? You agree?
Yeah, no, as far as the trades go, no, for sure. Dwayne Casey did not think it would be realistic to beat the Bulls in 7 or to beat the Hawks or to beat maybe even Washington or Cleveland. Probably wise of him, and I think he's just, he wants to save what he's got and really put it together the year that he really can make a run. I mean, the guy's got a plan, Kyle. He's good at what he does. I do trust the man. I think the Raps are
You mean Masai, right?
Yes.
Not Dwayne. Okay.
Yes, Masai. My mistake.
Okay.
Yes.
Masai the guy.
Masai the guy.
Okay.
Masai the Messiah.
The Messiah. So let's talk about this guy named Jonas Valanciunas.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. I've never met him personally, but he seems like an upstanding gentleman. Absolutely.
So, man, JV is playing a great game.
Yeah.
He's playing fantastically this year.
It's been a great year for JV's development.
He's no longer Dwayne Casey's whipping boy in, the last few games or so. Mm-hmm. I like what I'm seeing. The only thing I'm worried about, there's a lot of things I'm worried about with JV, and we could have a long talk about him, but we'll kind of just gloss over it.
Sure.
The first thing, and this is what worries me, it seems like the Raptors, you can tell me if you agree, they feed him early, and then his touches wean off a bit in the game. And that's his role. That's what it is. But what I'm worried about is, do you think that come playoff time, last year when we played the Nets, there was a huge shift in how we focused our attack. Specifically, Valanciunas went from touching the ball maybe 6 times a game or 7 times a game to touching it like 11 or 12. Mm-hmm. You remember every single game against the Nets, he was a double-double threat. He destroyed the Brooklyn Nets. He was our best player.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we have to realize. Come playoff time, he is our third weapon.
Yeah.
Right? So what's going to happen? We need to feed him more. Do you agree? He needs to be a bigger part of our game plan.
Yes and no. You have to feel it out. You got to play it by ear. If he's not feeling it, I don't want to keep throwing it into the post for him to miss shots and they get rebounds and run the other way.
I agree, but don't you think that come playoff time, it's just going to be like last year? It's just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jonas Valanciunas was taking one of the most shots on our team.
But that has a lot to do with...
He was a guy grabbing 18 points and 10 rebounds or something like that. And
that has a lot to do with who we were playing against, though. The last year, the Brooklyn Nets were a very bullyish kind of inside-out team that requires a tough inside guy to be their best against them. You need a center on both ends of the court to beat what the Brooklyn Nets were last year. They hit you hard. They were tough contact on both ends, and that really asked Jonas to really brought out the best in him. It made him seem tough. He was getting boards.
So do we need to get him ready now?
Bang with Kevin Garnett and everything.
Do we need to get him ready right now?
Yeah, well, he's got to get himself ready. That's got to be. I think that's on him.
I would hate to just see the whole game plan change once playoffs come and everyone's unprepared.
But that happens to every team.
I don't know. I don't like this. I want to see. The big man.
I don't think he needs more touches. I think he needs to improve what he's doing fine and just refine his game. Hit his free throws, rebound the ball well, be active in the paint on both ends, and be a nightmare to play against. And when the playoffs come around, the game slows down anyway because you're playing the same team 7 times. You start to learn their their tendencies. They're a good team. All the BS of running down the court and all the sort of turnovers. It's a higher quality basketball. So he'll have a much better chance to really establish himself in the half court, and I think he will. I don't think we have to get him ready. I think his touches are okay. Truth is, he's not a first option scorer or even a second option scorer quite yet. I'm confident that he will get there, but if you just throw the ball to JV and ask him to win you a game, it could really bite you in the you-know-where.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a larger part of the team than the Raptors treat him now.
He had 4 points against the Philly.
I know he's had a few games.
They didn't give him the ball. That's the truth, though.
That's true, and he wasn't playing great, but nobody else was playing great.
True.
So, anyways, we're talking playoffs. Let's talk a little more about the playoffs.
Sure.
So the third thing we're going to talk about is the X factor of the playoffs. So
sure.
The definition of the we talked about this a little bit, but who's going to be that guy? And don't tell me a guy we need to expect to bring it. I mean, Kyle Lowry, we know our playoff hopes and dreams start and die with Kyle Lowry, okay? Nobody's going to be surprised if he plays if we rely on him a lot.
Yes.
But who's going to be that guy that out of nowhere, because of him, all of a sudden nobody planned for this guy, and that's the guy who's coming out of nowhere to help us win a playoff series?
Well, I don't know so much that he's coming out of nowhere. I don't want this to be like what we just the second Kyle Lowry answer, but it's JV. You need JV. You need your big man.
He's the X factor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You need a big man in the playoffs to beat a lot of the teams in the East. You're going to need a big man to combat the teams like Chicago, teams like Washington. Even Cleveland, you're going to need defense, toughness. It's the freaking NBA playoffs, man, and we have one tough motherfucker, and his name is Jonas Valanciunas, and if he doesn't bring it, the Raptors will not go far in the playoffs. He needs to bring his A game defensively and just a catch-and-score option offensively. He doesn't have to create off his post moves, but he's got to be a threat in the paint. He's got to make shit happen down there.
To me, the Raptors are a really cool team because we have a ton of players that if the rest of these players in the list just play, good to their average, and then one of these players steps up and is that X factor, I wouldn't be surprised, one, and we could go far, too. So we have a bunch of players in JV, James Johnson, Lou Williams, Grievous Vasquez, who we don't talk about enough, great player, and Patrick Patterson. These are all guys that, for all we know, they could come out of nowhere and light it up in the playoffs. And we wouldn't be surprised, and they're all those type of players that if the rest of them play well enough and then one of those players steps up, that could seal the deal. The next question is who's the most likely? Grievous Vasquez, we know he's trick or treat. He could show up. He showed up last year in the playoffs, was nice. Lou Williams, I'd like to say Lou Williams, but he's really hot and cold.
Yeah,
Lou Williams is the type that if he's hot, he's the X factor, but
all those guys can light it up, but I don't know if they can light it up 3 games in a row.
Yeah, that's it. But the thing about Lou is he's not going to be consistent. I don't think he's going to be our X factor player. I'm going to say because I expect Jonas to play well in the playoffs, I'm going to say James Johnson.
Okay.
I think James Johnson could be. Remember Kawhi Leonard last year in the finals out
Basically,
of nowhere?
defensive juggernaut.
Shuts down LeBron, shuts down a great player, feeds off whatever opportunities he's given, and plays a great basketball game, and nobody expects it. And he could do that 7 games in a series. I think he could be our X factor. I think it's likely.
He was my second call. If I wasn't going to say JV, I was going to say JJ.
Yeah, it's something with a J.
Yeah.
And if not him, I mean, I think it's him. And JV could also be these type of players. But I'll go with Tupat. He's the man.
Yeah.
I love that guy. The greatest, one of the best Raptors, one of the best offseason signings we've ever had.
Yes.
I love him on the Raptors.
He's a glue guy, but he's better than a glue guy. You know what I mean?
A glue guy with some skill.
A glue guy with an actual role on the team.
Who's got skill.
Yeah.
So let's just jump into our next topic. We're on the 4th topic.
Sure. This will be the biggest topic, I believe.
The Raptors are in a funk, Jacoby.
Yeah, man.
What's going on?
Well, geez, what's going on?
What's not going on?
They're just judging from their body language, I just think it's been like a serious lack of toughness. They got thrashed by the Rockets, and that just seemed to really dip their confidence hard. And they just they didn't dribble the ball the same way. They just didn't move the same way. It didn't look exactly like the same team. I thought they looked really flat for a lot of games, and kind of scared, and sort of they weren't playing to win. They were kind of playing not to lose.
They weren't playing with attitude.
Yeah, it just wasn't the same type of Raptors, really. I saw it in the win against the 76ers. I saw them get back to it. They were playing as a team. They were happy to see each other score, things like that. Just the vibe was there. But why it's happening, I mean, having Kyle Lowry out didn't help as far as the Knicks go. Basically what happened is, why did we lose to the Pelicans and why did we lose to the Knicks? And I'm not really sure. We can't really afford that this late in the season. We're back in the Eastern Conference soup. Not the right time to go on a losing streak. I really hope they pick it up, but Cleveland does not present an easy opportunity to create a winning streak after this losing streak.
No, that's going to be a hard game, and what I've seen is we're playing selfish basketball. All season long, we've talked about we're playing a type of basketball that is really hard to be consistent, and now we're starting to see it kind of fall apart. We've been playing hero ball. We've been relying on referees to let us go to the foul line. We're not playing tough defense, and that catches up with us.
Yeah.
It just did. Shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
So, really what's bothering me more than anything is the selfishness that we're starting to see. There were a few times where, let's say, JV had a really great opportunity. He had deep post position.
On a good matchup.
Yeah.
But Lou Williams wouldn't pass him the ball.
Lou Williams or DeMar even wouldn't pass him the ball. I mean, it's ridiculous. You have to play the game like a team sport. I mean, the best teams in our league, and the San Antonio Spurs made it cool again, are the teams who aren't that great on paper, but they play as a team. Check the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
Right? There's no cool players on the Atlanta Hawks.
Except for Kyle Korver, your favorite.
He is a cool player. Okay? But they play as a team, and that's how they win games. And that's how we need to win games. And what I'm seeing is a selfish brand of basketball. We're seeing DeMar's not passing. Lou's taking way too many of these shots early in the shot clock threes that are always contested. I don't like what I'm seeing. And the only guy who I really like what I'm seeing from, not entirely, and his name is Dwayne Casey. That guy, he needs to step it up too. I like how he's handling things, but he needs to get to his players and start, yelling the fuck at them.
I think they need to have one of those players-only meetings. I'll put a little responsibility on Kyle and DeMar's shoulders, actually.
Yeah, I think DeMar needs to step up a little bit as a leader. I mean, we all know Kyle Lowry is the leader of this team, but Kyle Lowry sat out 2 games, and the whole team fell apart. Right? We won against the Sixers, but, we still let them score 103 points. They definitely do not average 103 points.
Yeah.
Okay? DeMar has to step up and be that leader when Kyle Lowry's not there.
That was a great point.
Even when he is there. He needs to be vocal. We know DeMar is a quiet guy. And that's okay. But he has to be the role model for the rest of the team. Hard work. Yeah. That's it. Pound the rock.
He has to lead by example, and he has to get on his guys if he doesn't see that.
Where's the rock? I want them to pound the rock. That's it.
I've never actually seen this rock you reference constantly. And
Dwayne Casey, he bought a rock.
No, yeah, I understood. Okay. You explained it to me, but I've never seen it. I never saw the episode or whatever.
Man, pound the rock.
Pound the rock.
Pound the rock. Get back to that shit. I want it.
They need to play defense for sure.
They need to play defense. They need to start they can't rely on bribing the refs, okay?
I will say this though, they get up for big games. The Raptors, they're kind of like the Habs in that way. Like when they play against the best in the world, they like get up for it. With the exception of the Golden State Warriors, who for some reason just have our number. But having Cleveland in town, they'll bring out the best in the Raptors. This is a good game to prove to yourselves how freaking good you really are and how you're not as crap as you've been playing these past few games.
We need to wake up.
Yeah, and this is such a great like statement, wake up, confidence boosting game.
So let's talk about that a little more. This is thing 5.
Sure.
You're saying we can take the opportunity against some good teams, play some great basketball. So let me ask you this: is our best basketball of the season yet to come? I was gonna say before this whole 5-game losing streak, I really thought we were going to get into a whole new, like, going to beast mode.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but I really think there's another level that this Raptors team could get to. In many ways, we're overplaying.
Right.
But in many ways, we're underplaying.
Right.
And that many ways would probably be on the defensive side.
Yeah.
But I think that if we can turn the ship, get out of this 5-game losing streak, we could see our best brand of basketball coming. All we got to do is play selfless. We're a team that says all for the team. We just got to play like that.
But if you can't do it consistently, then you're not at that level. You understand? Like,
they
consistency,
just gotta start, they say that it's all about the team. We don't care who scores the points, and that's true. But they have to play like that. They don't care who scores the basket, who gets 20 points. But they need to set each other up so that everybody could get the points. Mm-hmm. And if they do that, we're going to see some great basketball.
But that's such a big if, isn't it? They could do it for two or 3 games in a row.
Jonas, he's also playing some fantastic basketball. I think it could happen. I think the Raptors haven't plateaued yet this season.
I don't think they've plateaued yet this season.
Based on their potential.
But I think we've seen almost as high as it's going to get. Like, wins against the Hawks and things like that. Like, they can play at a really high level sometimes and, like, bang with the big boys in the NBA, the Portlands, not the Houstons, but we've done well against some very good teams in the NBA this year. But the consistency has me very worried. I think Dwayne Casey needs to continue to grow as a coach, and these guys need to get closer together as the years pass. Like, I'm gonna retract what I said earlier. The Raptors have plateaued. We've seen the best Raptors. They are gonna not be any better than we've seen them already this season. Like, the improvement. What we've seen in games against Atlanta and other good teams in the NBA, that's as good as they're going to get this year.
I hope not, Jacoby, because if so, then our days are numbered.
Yeah, no, they are. They are, for sure. I realized from this losing streak that the Raptors were not as good as I thought they were. It's just the truth.
It's like we become disillusioned Toronto Raptors fans.
I don't want to sound like a disillusioned, like,
I know
short term, like I just like the flavor of the month is what I think about the team. But they showed us a lot about the squad with this 5-game streak. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They showed us that even though they might know how they need to play to win, that they're not necessarily willing or able or prepared, or for whatever reason, it's not happening. And I think that was proved on these last 5 games, that even though they might say all the right things, that they just didn't quite put it all together yet. Consistency is hard to come by for any team in the NBA, but this team is struggling with it particularly right now.
Let me say one quick thing, sort of unrelated, and we'll just end off starting 5 with this, then we'll go on break, okay?
Sure.
This is what I think needs to happen to the Raptors. Maybe not this year, but next year. I think in the coaching side, I think we need to hire Chauncey Billups as an assistant coach. I swear to you. And as we both know, Chauncey Billups and Kyle Lowry have a great relationship. I mean, Kyle Lowry treats Chauncey like a mentor, and he's learned a lot from him and has really brought out the best of him, both as a person, as a player. I mean, he's talked about this so much in interviews, and I think we really need to I think he'd be a great assistant coach. He's a very smart player, but I think he'd really just keep Kyle Lowry on even keel, ready for games, and it'd probably bring out the best in Kyle Lowry all the time. I mean, not like we have a problem with Kyle Lowry, although he's a bit in a slump.
Yeah.
But I would think that's a brilliant move, Masai Ujiri. Give him a call. I want to see him on the bench.
It would be. I like the idea of like recently retired players in the coaching staff.
Yeah, as an assistant coach.
Because then like the gap in sort of like in the role sort of, or like the age gap or whatever isn't so huge. So it's like easier to respect somebody who's just been in your shoes.
I would love to see that. Nothing would make me happier than seeing him on our bench.
Same here.
So let's take a break.
Yeah. So stick around, Rapscast fans. We'll be right back with Be a GM and everyone's favorite King of the North. So stay tuned. Here we go. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed our sweet break music. We in here enjoyed the break very nicely. I gave Kyle a nice back massage. And we're jumping right back in. It's Be a GM time, a very highly favored topic around here at Rapscast. And we have a very special Rapscast fan that we found on Reddit who made our day when he actually left us our first comment with suggestions and feedback and all that kind of stuff. So Kyle, why don't you shout out our number one fan?
Number one fan, our first shout-out goes to Query Quest.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for the comment. We appreciate that. We love comments, and we're definitely going to encourage more of them. Feel free to comment on this podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, much love. So what he wanted to know, he wanted us to talk about something on Be a GM, and we're going to do it.
Yes.
We cater to the fans.
Yeah.
So he wants to know about next year. We have a bunch of potential free agents. What do you think, what does he wants to know what we should do with that situation, and what should we do in regards to using up that cap space, how we would go about it. So how would you go about free agency offseason this year?
You first, Kyle.
Okay, so the first thing we just got to bring up, so everybody knows, we have a bunch of free agents. The first of which is Lou Williams, Amir Johnson, Tyler Hansbrough, Landry Fields, Mr. Charles Hayes, and Greg Steemsma.
Yep.
Okay? So I guess the first thing we should think about is who of those do we keep? And to me, I mean, I think we're both going to agree the last four names, Hansbrough, Fields, Hayes, and Steemsma, they're goners.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Hansbrough, you might disagree with, but I think, you could just find someone on the market.
I like him. Do I think he's a goner? Probably.
Yeah. You know what? The problem with Hansbrough is he's too limited. He's really only a power forward in size and skill set, and we need him to play the 5 too, but he can't really do that.
He can't guard a 3 or a 5. He can just guard.
He's too limited in his role and skill set. So
Absolutely.
He's gone. So Amir and Lou Williams is what do we do? For me, I think I'm going to imagine if I'm Masai Ujiri, I think Masai is going to keep Amir. I think they're going to find a reasonable way to keep him for not too much money. I think, not really factoring in how the cap might go up a lot, I think we'll be able to keep him in the 8 million-ish range, 7-8 million, I hope. And I think that'll happen, one, because Amir wants to be here, and Toronto wants him to be here. Now, how we perceive what we want out of him, we might want a different role. We might want him to be that second big man off the bench. I think he's willing to do that. He loves Toronto. He loves the team. He's happy to be here. And I think Masai wants him to be here, one, because he's a fan favorite. Two, I think he's a Masai favorite, too.
Yeah.
In the offseason,
he is a Dwayne Casey favorite.
He's a Dwayne Casey favorite. He's way underrated. But I also think Masai likes him as a person, wouldn't want to get rid of him because, Masai went to Giants of Africa this offseason. Who did he give a call to? First call, Amir Johnson.
Yeah. Character guy.
You want a classy guy like that in the Raptors organization, someone who keeps the guys focused. We all know, I don't even need to talk about what Amir Johnson brings to the table. The only thing that's in debate is how much do we want to keep him, for how much, and where do we see him in the role.
Amir Johnson is a pure chemist, a pure glue guy.
No, he's not that. He's that, but he's really skilled.
Yeah, no, but his locker room abilities and what he does for the psyche of a team.
He's a great glue guy.
Yeah.
But he also is amazingly skilled.
Yeah, he's not like the 15th man glue guy. He can be part of your rotation, but what he does for your team and for the psyche and the the camaraderie of your team is very important. I agree. But I'm kind of torn on this, man. The truth is, the Raptors could upgrade at his position. If he's on the squad, that means he has to eat minutes. And I really don't like what's. I mean,
I'm comfortable signing him for $7-8 million a year, playing him 20 minutes a game, $7 million
like,
a year.
He'll be the new Hansbrough next year, kind of, sort of, in terms of the role and minutes.
Yes. Save him for the off season, because the thing about him is he's versatile. He could play.
Try to get a home down discount on
exactly.
him.
He could play both center and power forward positions. So I'm happy keeping him. He's great for the team. He's more valuable to us than he is for another team. So I keep him.
All right.
Lou Williams, I think he's also going to stay, because finding a professional scorer like him on the free agency is hard to do.
True.
And then he's also a guy who I think he enjoys Toronto. He would want to be here and not give us a huge discount per se, but he wants to be here. And let's say, did we get a huge discount on a guy like Patrick Patterson? No, but we got a fair, good contract nobody's complaining about. I think the same could be had, and it's harder than you think to find a guy who's talented like Lou. I know you're down on him right now. You're giving me dirty looks, but I think he's better than we're giving him credit for. It's a hard thing to find a professional scorer from the bench like that. I think he could stay. I would keep him. If I was the GM, I would keep him.
What's your price point, though? Where do you draw the line for?
Right now, he's making around $5.5 million.
Well, he's obviously going to go up from there.
Yeah, the cap's going up. Again, I'll throw him like $6.5 million.
But nothing over that.
$7 million at most, but I don't want more than 3 years.
I guess I can do $7 million, but I don't like the idea of throwing big money at Lou Will, which he'll probably ask for because he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, but I will not. Maybe I'd give him $8 million if it was a two-year contract.
Yeah, we talk about the importance of guarding multiple positions. Lou Williams can't guard a single one, so.
I guess
like, you know what I mean?
I guess you might be able to say that. Yes.
So all he has kind of one. If Tyler Hansbrough is single dimensional, so too is Lou Williams. His looks a little more glorious, and I guess puts actual points on the board, which is more valuable. But on the
you need someone to score.
Yeah, but when he's not scoring, he's a liability because he can't play defense and he'll put up shots that are not going to go in. When he's having a bad night, he's a big burden on a team. Like I don't love players like him, to be honest with you.
I know you have your
and also
your beef.
Keeping him on the squad steals shine from the development of Terrence Ross.
So you're not signing him. You're not re-signing.
Like if we can get a deal, that's what I mean. If we can get if we can get him to not go too much higher than what he's got right now, which I'll obviously ask for, then no, I wouldn't re-sign him.
So right now we're looking at about $20-odd million in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just double check that.
Well, let's hear.
Yeah, we're about $22 million.
Assuming we get rid of Hansbrough, Fields, Chuck Hayes, and Greg Steamsma.
Yeah, and assuming that we don't really sign Lou Williams and Amir from crazy money. Okay. So what do we do with that money? That's a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
We looked at the free agency list. We got some people on the short list, so let's just address our needs. I think we need a backup center, a real backup center.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who could play power forward, center. I'm okay with that, but not Tyler Hansbrough, a guy who should not play center. Not a guy like Chuck Hayes, who I like him as a player, but the guy's 6'6", and he has his matchups where he's very effective. But I want someone that I'm not afraid to, like Amir Johnson. Amir Johnson, when he's play center, I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah.
So that's the first need.
Mm-hmm.
The second need is a small forward. I mean, we both like James Johnson. We talk about the guy a lot. I hope Terrence Ross could find some consistency. But the need for that small forward is definitely there. The third one, it's kind of like the second one, but, a big guy, a power forward, small forward kind of guy. That guy that's like the tweener that could play both forward spots.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we don't really have. We have that in James Johnson, but again, we talked about guys like Wilson Chandler, that type of thing.
And keep in mind the JV T. Ross expirations.
Yes, so JV and T. Ross both expire after next year, and we both know that JV is going to be a near max player. So we got to keep some cap for them. Also, Toronto is having the All-Star game next year, so we might want to think, are we going to try to start luring free agents like Mr. Kevin Durant to Toronto in the summer of 2016?
That's your your basketball wet dream.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'll be happy to have him in a Raptor jersey.
Oh my God, I'd be ecstatic. That would be
with the little OVO jerseys. I'm happy. Yeah.
Otherworldly.
So And the last one is maybe a third point guard, and that's not really something I'm concerned with, but I know both Masai and Dwayne Casey like having 3-point guards on their roster. So we made a short list. Let's just talk about backup center, big guys type of thing.
Sure.
So the big name we'll start with is Greg Monroe. He's going to be a free agent, unrestricted free agent this year. Our short list we just didn't really look at restricted free agents because I think we both think that overpaying for someone is not really in the best of interest right now.
Yes, absolutely.
But Greg Monroe could maybe be had. He's having an unbelievable year. He's probably like a $14-ish million guy. Is he someone you see that you might like for the Raptors?
For 14 mil, man. That's a very steep price for a player like Greg Monroe, but we do need a player of his type.
We want to get to that next level.
Yeah, we do. We do.
So Greg Monroe, I thought he'd be a great player for us. He could shoot. He's not a three-point shooter, but he could shoot. More importantly, he's a great facilitator in the low post. I mean, I see this team, I think we need to start building a little more around Jonas, as we've talked about, and we need to start implementing players who complement Jonas well. Now, Greg Monroe has his liabilities on the defensive side, but we both know he could rebound. So could Jonas, though. And he's a great passer. The guy goes back to basket, he could score, he could pass, and we need someone who could complement Jonas. Now, Amir's a good player, complements Jonas pretty well, but I see Greg Monroe could be that player. I would love to see us chase Greg Monroe.
I think he could complement Jonas. I think having them both on the floor together defensively to have that size and that toughness could be great, but
it's something Dwayne would like.
Offensively, they both want the ball in the same places,
Well, no, I see Greg Monroe could be a great facilitator to JV. Get it in the high post, pass it to JV in the low
game,
post.
Like what we see in on the Clippers or on the Grizzlies, for instance. Yeah,
I could see that working very well. So that's one name I'd love to throw in there. On my short list, I also added Kyle O'Quinn. If we don't go after Amir, I think he'd be a great replacement. Young guy, similar skill set. I really am high on, yet another Kyle.
True.
Paul Millsap is also a free agent.
That would be
amazing. A lot of money.
Yeah,
worth
true.
it.
Yeah, I think Paul Millsap fits well with the Raptors, better than Greg Monroe would actually.
Well, Paul Millsap brings it a little more on the D.
Yeah,
he's also that
toughness, super tough.
40% 3-point shooter. He'd probably be number one guy I'm going for.
I would agree.
The only reason I didn't bring him up first is I think he's going to stay a Hawk.
Yeah, because they've got such a good thing going.
They have a good thing going.
He's not going to want out yet.
He must like his team. So if he's there, I definitely see a sales pitch happening, but I don't think so.
If we sign, how much cap room did you say we had left in that theory?
20-odd million.
20-odd million, and then you give JV max.
Remember, you have to replace quite a few players.
Right.
So you're looking at one big player and a few complement pieces or something like that. So let me toss in another one. Okay?
Sure.
We leave Greg Monroe on the table, okay?
All right.
This is the low key. We go for Darrell Arthur, okay, on the Denver Nuggets. Now, not everybody knows, but Darrell Arthur is quietly having one of the best advanced statistical seasons of any player on the defensive end. His advanced stats are showing that he is one of the best defensive players in the entire league. The team's defensive ratings go way up when he's on the floor. It's unbelievable. It goes up by like 10 points. Unbelievable. And his around the rim shot percentage very low. He's a guy that Dwayne Casey could really love to work with because at least on his advanced stats, he's unbelievable. He's like Patrick Patterson in the sense that he knows how to shoot. He's a smart player. He could be an unbelievable signing for us because he'll bring both the defense and limited offense. I would like to see him in a Raptors jersey. I think that's a great low-key move to get. Remember James Johnson? You signed him for cheap, and look what he's done.
Yeah,
that could be Darrell Arthur next year.
Well, when you on your second unit, if you have guys like Vasquez and Lou Williams coming off the bench, then most of the offense is pretty much accounted for with those guys. They love to shoot the ball or make easy shots for other guys. You don't need scorers in other positions.
Exactly. So he just spaces out like Pat
and defends the bucket. And
yes.
So even when you got like not necessarily Amir on the floor or JV on the floor, you still layups are hard to come by for the other squad. I agree with you. Darrell Arthur would fit in beautifully.
Yeah, he should be one of our top guys to go get.
He could be like the price point isn't too high on DA.
I think he's going to be one of those low-key signings. Like when we got James Johnson, like, really? That's the guy we're going to do our big three defender? And then mid-season, thank God, Masai.
Yeah.
He's got to be that guy.
All
That's
right.
the guy on my low-key.
I'd love to see him there, yeah.
So let's go to the small forward.
Sure, yeah.
Small forward, I wrote Luol Deng. But I tentatively wrote this.
I see your little brackets over here, yeah.
The thing with Luol Deng is he's had the most minutes in the NBA for a few seasons in the row under Thibodeau when he was on the Bulls. And he's a guy, I just know it's like a really old power drill. And you just know it's going to break down one of these years, and you just keep using it until it's going to break.
But boy, does it spin.
Yeah. So we're starting to see he's starting to decline right now, but he's still a smart basketball player. He's still a smart two-way player. Could score off opportunities, could defend.
He's a big-time small forward.
Yeah, he's still a great player. I mean, he's probably not going to have another All-Star game anytime soon, probably for the rest of his career, but he'd still be a great fit on the Raptors. He's a good leader. He's not demanding with the ball, unselfish, and he knows how to win. So I'd like to see him in the Raptors, but I tentatively put him there because I would only go for him for a 2-year contract.
For a short term.
Yeah, 2-year contract at most. That's all I want. He's getting older, getting run down. That's it. If we could get him for a 2-year deal, I'm in. I'm sold. The next one I put was Damari Carroll, but again, he's a Hawk. I don't think he's leaving.
Yeah, the Hawks are probably going to get asked to give him big money. I mean,
they're going to give him big money. I mean, he was the only non-All-Star from their starting lineup, but he's an unbelievable three-point shooter.
He can
great defender.
From 3, yeah.
He'd be a great fit on the Raptors too.
Yeah. Yes, you would.
Very versatile player. Someone I'd love to see, but I just don't think we're going to get him.
I think the third option here is the most interesting, actually, for the Raptors.
Who, Al Farouk?
No, Aaron Aflalo, man.
Aaron Aflalo. He is unbelievable, but here's why I also didn't really bold him on my short list.
Sure.
He just got traded to Portland. I think he's really excited, and if Portland could give a good run in the postseason, I think he's going back to Portland. He's a loyal guy, and we've discussed this in our last episode. I'd love to see him on the Raptors. His hard work ethic really fits how we play the game. He'd get along with DeMar and Kyle really well. He'd be such a good fit.
He's such an underrated basketball player.
Such an underrated basketball player. I completely agree. If he gets into free agency and is really willing to listen to offers, I hope we make a sales pitch to him. But I don't see it as very likely because I don't see him leaving. And I also think Masai, I think in the long run, we really are hoping Terrence Ross is going to plan out. And if Terrence Ross does plan out, if we're banking on that, then having him and Aflalo in the long-term picture doesn't really make sense.
Right, yeah.
Because they are similar body type and hopeful skill set. And
we have to hope that Ross ever becomes the kind of player that Aflalo is. As far as he can defend in the mid-range game, like he's just very well-rounded and just a solid guard in the NBA. Really good player.
So that's our small forward, and then the last one is centers. So the only one I really like is Brandon Wright. He's young. He could defend. He's pretty much like DeAndre Jordan in the sense that pick and roll, he'll slash right there, catch the alley-oop dunk.
And he's going to look for a bridge contract, I think. He's going to look for like a short term. He hasn't proved himself yet. He's going to want to show that he's worth big money, but he isn't quite at that level yet. So he'll probably go short term, not big money, and then after the end of that, he'll pressure teams to give him big money. So the PK Subban style.
Yeah. So I could see us going for Brandon Wright. He'd fill up that backup center spot really nicely. So we've talked about a bunch of people. I'm just going to say quick. What do I think actually should happen? I think we should go for Greg Monroe. If that doesn't pan out, we go for Darrell Arthur. We get Darrell, try to talk to Dang,
I think Darrell and Greg together would be awesome.
Yeah, because the thing is, that's a lot of power forwards.
Yeah, but you could play Greg. But it's
remember, in my mind, I'm signing Amir Johnson.
Right.
So
then you'd have Amir. You'd have Patrick Patterson would be the odd man out there. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I say who you seriously talk to with that money. You speak to Greg Monroe. You speak to Darrell Arthur, Luol Deng, and Brandon Wright. I also wrote Jordan Hill. Jordan Hill's a great player.
Yeah.
The only thing that worries me with Jordan Hill is he's a great player. He's going to want like $10-ish million, and he's going to want to be a starter because he is a starter.
I think we kind of got our if we get Amir back, like I think having those two centers, JV and Amir, could be all right for the Raps.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. If
And
Amir
then we focus on DeMare Carroll and Darrell Arthur. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think number one guys who we need to just at least seriously speak to, Greg Monroe, Darrell, one more time, Deng, DeMare Carroll. I'd love to see them. And one last option we didn't really talk about and could happen is Al-Farouq Aminu.
Yeah, I love Al-Farouq.
He's a good player. We could get him on the cheaper side, and he could do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. He's sort of like a James
trades.
Johnson type,
yeah,
sort of.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to have him on the team.
Same.
These are all people I would go for.
Yeah.
Now, if a guy like Greg Monroe didn't pan out, I'm okay with it. You know, you get the guys like Darrell, Deng. You know, if you just get those two, I'm cool with that. Keep a bit of cap space open. Next year, we're going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of contract length, Deng, as I said, short contract. Darrell Arthur, 3-ish years, I'm hoping.
Because you can kind of you can get that one wrong. You know what I mean?
And Greg Monroe, I'll bite the bullet and give him 4 years. What he wants.
Oh man, that makes me nervous.
He's a high reward player.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd go for it. I would go for it. So thank you, Query Quest, again for your questions.
Query Quest, keep them coming. I love addressing that, man. That's great. And
yeah, we had fun talking about it.
Absolutely.
So let's just jump into our favorite segment. I lied. It's not starting 5. It's the King of the North.
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 The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North.
So who's the King of the North, Jacoby?
The King of the North. I know who mine is. Are we gonna have differing?
No, we're agreeing.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a guy that I love to praise this man because you know what? He's not exactly a hero, you know, at the eye test. He doesn't wow you with skill. He's not the most athletic man. He won't put together too many highlights. But Tyler Hansbrough, when the Raptors were getting thrashed, and I mean really thrashed by the Golden State Warriors, one man seemed to take that, you know, really tough. He really thought that was not acceptable of the Raptors, and he seemed to be embarrassed, which is something I would have liked to see from everybody. I wanted everyone to start a fight. But one man who really was noticeably frustrated, even though his role is small on this team, but he clearly wants to be on a winning team, was Tyler Hansbrough. So I just respect the guy for sticking up for his team when they were getting thrashed around. He wasn't going to take any BS from Festus Ezeli. And I'm happy to see people get pissed off when they lose like that bad. You know what I mean? You want to have a little bit. You want to be mad at yourself a little in cases like that.
You need some emotion. If a player is complacent losing, I don't want them on the team.
Exactly.
And if they were, let's say, the San Antonio Spurs, if that player was okay losing, they'd be off. They'd be cut.
Exactly.
Easy.
So Tyler Hansbrough, I think, what's awesome to me is that he's not, you know, like no one's gonna blame him for what's happening. So it's not like he was frustrated for that reason. He just wants his squad to win. That's what he's there to do, is to help the team.
Be an enforcer.
Absolutely.
And I'm not one, as we both know, to give a lot of praise to Tyler Hansbrough, but he does
deserve it this week.
In a week where pretty much everyone sucked.
Yeah.
He stood out.
He capitalized.
Being, decent.
He was gunning for King of the North all week.
If you're getting in a fight on a game, I'll give you King of the North.
You have to just remember the context of the game. You know what I mean? Like
we were getting blown out,
and it wasn't like it's
not acceptable.
It's not like DeMar DeRozan like getting upset because the media is trashing him for the losing streak. This is like kind of a scrub on the Raptors getting upset because he wanted the squad to win, because he put the squad first, and it made him upset that he was losing by so much. So good on you, T Hands.
We'll take it. We'll hear it. We want to improve. We want to answer your questions.
We're starving for interaction with you guys. Give us something to work with here. We want to know what you think.
Yeah, so give us a like, a follow, whatever it is. We love you all.
And we will see you next week. Happy Rapscast Friday. Yeehaw!